Welcome to the 5-Day Blues Guitar Challenge. This is just one lesson in a series where I'll teach you 5 different super fun blues progressions that will help you reboot your guitar practice. And if you want to learn the guitar practice method that has changed the lives of over 21,000 guitar players, you need to check out my online guitar reboot workshop to ensure you get the most out of your guitar practice. Just click the link here in the video or in the description. All right, let's get started. You're going to unlock the power of a single chord shape today. So often we learn chords and very quickly we're on to the next chord shape, but we need to delve into the depths of what a single chord shape can offer. And this very exercise, this very 12-bar blues, will do just that. In fact, we're going to use the D chord shape in a, well, we'll call it a slightly unconventional manner. I know this has been done before, but sometimes we feel like this is the D chord, and that's where it lives. But that's not the case. We can actually move it around to achieve different results, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to play a 12-bar blues in the key of A, and what we're going to end up doing is just using the same exact shape as I mentioned before. So let's actually get to that shape. I'm going to show you the 3 different locations and what we're going to do within the shape. And then I'll get into what your picking hand's going to be doing. It's actually pretty simple, so I don't want you to be intimidated. It might look like a lot when you see the tab, but I can assure you that once you understand what's happening here with the shape and then the finger picking, you'll be like, oh, this is so awesome, and it's going to unlock a ton of creativity. So we're going to start with your index finger on the 9th fret of the G string, and then your middle finger on the 10th fret of the B, okay? I just want you to isolate this shape for right now, and you can use your index finger on the G, on your picking hand, and your middle finger on the B, again, on your picking hand. So just go ahead and hit those 2 strings. In fact, why don't you just hit them 2 times in a row? Just a nice little pluck. Just kind of rest your fingers on those strings, and then kind of press into them and then let go of the strings. It'll give you a nice solid tone, right? 2 times. Then you're going to take your ring finger, which is kind of hanging out here, and you're going to plop that on the 11th fret of the G string 2 more times. Pretty easy, right? Again, index finger on the G, middle finger on the B. Those aren't going to move for this entire exercise, the entire 12-bar blues. Then you're going to take your pinky, drop it to the 12th fret of the G string, 2 more strikes on those 2 strings. One of the things I want you to be aware of is that arch in the pinky. We want to make sure that B string is ringing. If you hear it like that, you might want to adjust the angle or the approach of your pinky finger. It'll clean things up a little bit. And then for the last part of the series, just lift up your pinky, keep that ring finger on the 11th fret of the G string, and 2 more strikes on those strings. All right, so let's just isolate what we've learned here. It's going to be 2 on what we'll call home bass. That's the 9th fret of the G, 10th fret of the B. Drop that ring finger to the 11th, 2. Pinky finger to the 12th, and then back to the 11th. All right, you can almost start to hear the blues kind of developing there. Right, and that in and of itself is way cool, but we haven't even added in the bass. And that's the only thing that's going to change in this entire exercise in terms of what the thumb is doing. For this first part, we're going to just strike the A string with our thumb on the 1 beat, right? That's it. So it's going to go 1, pluck the G and the B string at home bass, hit that A string again, open, drop the ring finger, 2 more hits on the G and B string, hit that A string again, drop the pinky, 2 more hits on the G and B, hit that A string again, lift up the pinky, 2 more hits. All right, so if we count along with it, I'll do 2 approaches here. I'll actually count along with it, and then I'll name the fingers that are being activated on the picking hand. Whichever one works for you is the one I want you to use. So here goes nothing. We'll go ahead and count with it to start. It'll be 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. All right? And if I name the fingers, it's going to be thumb, pluck, pluck, thumb, pluck, pluck, thumb, pluck, pluck, thumb, pluck, pluck. Okay? Easy as that. The next series, and that's the entire top line of this blues progression. The next series, the next line, we're gonna find ourselves playing over a D chord. So all we're gonna do is take this shape, right? Index finger is gonna stay on the G string, middle finger is gonna stay on the B. We're gonna drop it down towards the headstock. So the index finger is now on the 2nd fret of the G, middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the B. In terms of our thumb on our picking hand, we're now gonna be activating the D string, right? So keep that in mind. Again, for the picking hand, index finger is still gonna activate the G, middle finger is still gonna activate the B. We're gonna follow that same exact pattern we just did, where the thumb strikes, 2 plucks, thumb strikes, drop the ring, thumb strikes, drop the pinky, thumb strikes, lift up the pinky. I did 2 thumbs there, that was an accident. So let's go ahead and go through that again. So thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck. Same exact pattern. We've just adjusted the bass so that now we're hitting that open D because that's reflective of the chord we're playing over. And we've just moved the chord shape towards the headstock, so it is truly a D chord. So that makes up the first part of the second line. For the latter part of the second line in your tab, just move it right back up to the 9th and 10th fret, move your thumb back to the bass note on the open A string, and follow the same pattern. Which brings us to the final line, the last line of the tablature, where we're gonna be playing over an E chord for a measure, a D chord for a measure, and then an A chord for a measure, or for 2 measures. So since this is a 2-measure lick or riff or rhythm, whatever you want to call it, whatever works, we're going to have to half it when we bring it to the E chord and the D chord on this last line. What does that mean? Well, let's first get the positioning down. Your index finger is going to be on the 4th fret of the G string, middle finger on the 5th fret of the B string, right? Same exact chord shape we've been using. In fact, your index and middle finger are probably getting a little tired at this point. So again, 4th with the index finger on the G, 5th with the middle finger on the B. Your thumb's now gonna move to the low E string because we're playing over an E chord, so we should probably strike that E bass note. You're gonna follow the same exact pattern, except we're only gonna do half of it. We're gonna do thumb, pluck, pluck, drop that ring finger down to the 6th fret of the G, hit the thumb on the low E again, and then a pluck, pluck. I feel like that's a nursery rhyme. A pluck, pluck here, a pluck, pluck there. Anyways, so that's your 1 measure, right? 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Now we move to the next measure, which finds us playing over a D chord. So go ahead and drop that chord shape to where we were before when we played over the D chord. 2nd fret of the G, 3rd fret of the B. Your thumb drops to the D string, right? Same exact pattern, but again, it's just a measure. So we go 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. And then to wrap it all up, those final 2 measures are over an A chord. It's the initial riff that we learned. Slide it way up to the 9th and 10th fret and execute the full rhythmic pattern. So that's it. It's really one thing. Again, we're just moving it around and adjusting the bass notes we're hitting with our thumb to reflect the chord that we're playing on, right? So if we're playing over an A chord, that A string is going to be activated with the thumb. The D chord, D string, the E chord, the low E. That's one of the beautiful things about this tiny little chord shape is that we have access to all these different chords and we can support them on the bass end of the spectrum because the open strings are conveniently A, D, and E, right? Or E, A, D, if you want to do it in order. Now, a couple of things in terms of unlocking your creativity with this. I've played this very squarely in the demonstration that you'll go through. And that's okay because I want you to get the timing down, I want you to get the accuracy down. But the more you get comfortable with this, the more you'll be able to swing it and do some subtle rhythmic variations. Things like this. There, those plucks are kind of closer together where the last one rings out a little bit longer. I wanted you to first understand the square time and then be able to swing it and add a little bit more kind of a human feel to it. So have fun with this one. And again, zooming out, make sure you're understanding that, holy smokes, I'm taking one chord shape and achieving an entire blues progression with just a single chord shape and some subtle embellishments. It's pretty cool, pretty fancy, and I think this is one of those underrated things where you can add some serious sonic layers to a song. So have a blast with this.